Hi, I'm Jimmy Holland, and welcome to another edition of A Preacher and His Work. We have so many great gospel preachers around our country and around the world, and this is our way of helping you get to know them just a little bit better. We are broadcasting from Polishing the Pulpit in Sevierville, Tennessee, and it's always a good work to be a part of, and it's great to see people we don't get to see very often. And I'm thankful to have Robert Alexander with us. Robert, I appreciate you sitting down with us today.
Thank you, Brother Jimmy.
What congregation are you currently working with?
Currently, I am preacher for the Lucedale Church of Christ in Lucedale, Mississippi. I've been there since November of last year.
All right. Well, I know that area well, and I know you're doing a great work there. How long have you been in ministry total?
Total 15 years. That's counting my 2 years in preaching school at the Northwest Florida School of Biblical Studies. I have preached full-time now for 11 years. I was associate part-time work for 4, and that again includes my 2 years in preaching school.
What motivated you to get into preaching and to get into ministry?
There's a lot of different motivating factors. Well, I grew up in the Lord's church, and I obeyed the gospel at an early age, and I decided early on to use my talents to serve God. And I really loved to lead singing. And I was a song leader in my home congregation for a long period of time. And then I started teaching Bible classes. And some older brethren finally came up to me and said, Robert, you know, you've got a talent for leading singing. You've got a talent for teaching these kids' classes. Have you ever thought about preaching? And for a while I thought, no, that's not for me. I'm more of an introvert. And, so they would leave me alone. But then they would also come back and say, Robert, you really need to think about preaching. And my grandfather-ism had also encouraged me from an early age. So at the same time I'm telling them no, I was in essence telling my grandfather no. And I finally decided, what would it hurt me to try preaching? I could develop another talent, and that would be another way to glorify God. And so I decided to give it a try, and I fell in love with preaching the Word. I fell in love with being able to teach others and trying to seek and save the lost. And I guess you can say the rest is history from that.
Well, I'm so thankful that you did get into preaching and in ministry. And the last question I have, and for me it's the most important question I could ask, and it's this: if there was just one message that you can share with the world as a minister, what would that one message be?
This one's tough because the gospel is good news, but if I had to share one message, I guess it would be just how great God's love is for mankind, and point the world to the cross of Christ. We look at the cross as a dark day, and it was a dark day, but it was also a bright day for mankind, because it was on that dark day that mankind was given hope. Because the Son of Glory, the Son of God, shed His precious blood on the cross, made possible by God's grace, His love, His mercy for us. And if I only could preach one message to the world, I would point the world to the cross, the great love that God has for them, for us, for you, for me, and the love that Christ has for them, because it wasn't the nails that kept Him to the cross. It was love. It was His willingness to go the distance for our sakes. And that's the message the world needs to know, is just how much God loves them and wants them to be saved.
That is a message that the world needs to hear. And Robert, I appreciate what you're doing in Lucedale. I appreciate what you're doing with the kingdom. And
to God be the glory, great things.
The preceding program was a production of the Fort Payne Church of Christ TV studio located in Fort Payne, Alabama.